man, I'm going to share something with you today. When it happens to a beekeeper, it's the worst. I can't think of anything that's worse. Maybe a few things, but not many, and I think it's the worst. It happens to both the experienced beekeeper and it happens to the brand new beekeeper. It happens more to the brand new beekeeper. So if you're watching this and you're getting ready to start in the spring, you got to watch this video all the way through, because I have 8 tips that will reduce your chance of this happening to you. Years ago, I went to my sister's house. She lives in Martin, Tennessee. And I was down there visiting, and we've always had a lot of dogs on our property here. We live out in the country in the middle of nowhere. And she had this dog that had showed up, or she kind of started taking care of. She has other dogs, but this dog was beautiful. It was a pup, and it was a beautiful hound dog with great big black floppy ears. And since it was a pup, it was so friendly and just so fun to watch this big hound dog pup trip over its own feet. I mean, it was a hoot, right? And I said, hey, fellas, I want to buy this dog off of you and take it home. I love this dog. She said, take it. It's yours. Oh, wow. So I took it home, and I did all the necessary things. Like when I brought it home, since we live out in the middle of the country, I didn't want the dog, running off to a neighbor's house or something, or getting hit by a car on the hard road. Now, the hard road, in case you're from the city, and you're not familiar with country terms, a hard road, since we live in the country, means all the roads near us are made out of gravel, so those aren't hard roads. The hard road is made out of asphalt and has more traffic. It's a mile away from my house. And so when I got the dog home, I kept it on a leash. I kind of trained it, did a little bit of study on it, trained it so it would know where the borders of my property is and not to go, but it's a dog, right? That's why you live in the country, to have dogs in the country. They do start running off. But a brand new pup like that, I wanted it to know where home was. So, I was feeding it, watering it, keeping it on a leash to get it familiar with my property. Well, as it got a little bit older, it wasn't maybe, 6 months after I had it, somebody showed up at my house, knocked on my door one night, and they said, I think your dog just got ran over on the hard road. Oh no, I was just hoping. Can't be my dog, right? Because it doesn't go that far. It's a mile away. So my oldest son and I, we went up there where they told us where it was hit by a car, and sure enough, it was my dog. Oh, I felt so bad about that. It's like, oh no, I love that dog so much already, and it's been hit by a car. But that's what animals do. Animals don't want to always do what we want them to do. We try to domesticate animals. And some animals you can domesticate them more than others. But, there's some animals, they're just prone to do their own thing. Cows will try to run through fences. Goats will jump over fences. And bees are no exception. And what I'm talking about today that will make the experienced beekeeper and the new beekeeper, both of them depressed and want to cry, is absconding. It's when your bees, when you first install them in your new hive, they stay there a day or two maybe, and then all at once, they all leave at the same time. Absconding means there are no bees around at all. Zero. Not any of them. Not a queen, nothing. You're looking like, wow, there's nothing. They may have already drawn out a little bit of comb when you inspect it. So I want to give you 8 tips today to help you understand how you can reduce the chance of absconding. I'm going to give you a bonus tip at the end of this video, so watch it all the way through. Well, the Latin word means to hide away. And it's basically when your bees just leave and you don't know where they are. You can't find them. Absconding. It's different than swarming. I've heard beekeepers use these 2 words interchangeably incorrectly. Swarming is a natural tendency that happens in the spring when bees want to reproduce, So they'll make another colony by half of the colony leaving with the old queen because she's a layer, she's proven. They're not going to leave with a virgin queen that hasn't been a layer yet. So they leave with the old queen, and they establish a new colony somewhere else. Back home, they raises a new queen that takes a mating flight and becomes their new queen, their new mother. and that's swarming. It will happen every year to all healthy colonies. It's a natural, instinctive way for bees to reproduce and make more colonies. That's why we always have to use techniques to prevent swarming. And I'm going to deal with swarming in a future video to help you guys that overwinter your colonies. But let's get back to absconding. What are 8 tips that I can give you to help you reduce absconding? And why should an experienced beekeeper want to know this? Well, because an experienced beekeeper is one that goes and collects swarms. And that's a big ball of bees that are hanging, from a tree. They swarmed out of a hive and reproduced and made a new colony. But before they get established in a new tree or somewhere, they hang out in a tree on the limb for a day or two. And that's when an experienced beekeeper is called and has to put them in a hive. So when you take a swarm and put it in a hive, these same things I'm telling you will help that swarm stay there, because so many times, how often do you catch a swarm? It doesn't stay there, but it absconds and leaves again. All right, so why does this happen to a new beginner beekeeper? Well, you buy a brand new package and you install it in a brand new hive and you leave it in there for a day or two. You do all the right things and you go out there 3 or 4 or 5 days later, not a bee in sight. What causes those bees to leave? I think it's just natural instinct. I think bees kind of start looking at forests and trees. They're in a brand new box that has really no indication to them that it's a beehive. You know it's a beehive because when you bought it, it said it was a beehive. But to the bees, it's a box and it's made of wood. And sure, there's some comb in there or foundation, but they don't really know it's a beehive. They're not really thinking that way. And so maybe they just want to go be in a hollow tree or something. So you're going to have that pressure. I once heard, don't quote me on this, but I once heard that absconding happens to about 7% of all installed new packages. So it's depressing if it happens to you, because usually after you buy a package and you install them, you're all excited, you bought a hive, you took a class, and then your bees all fly away. Gosh. Or you catch a swarm, you put a lot of time into climbing up a tree and shaking these bees into a box and driving them home and putting them on your property, and then the next day they swarm again. They abscond away. It's like, oh gosh, that's so depressing. Oh, let me clarify. When a hive swarms, half of the colony swarms away, and let's say that swarm lands in a tree. That's a new colony. If you collect that swarm colony and put them in a hive, now they are one complete new colony. Now, if that colony all leaves, all of them, then that swarm is absconding. It's kind of confusing. Replay that and listen again if you need to. Tip number 1 is you need to use drawn comb. So foundation looks something like this. This is brand new foundation. It's not drawn out. Drawn comb looks like this. Drawn comb is more actual comb that bees have made, and this is just some that I cut out of a tree, but it would look like this on a frame, drawn comb. But this foundation here is brand new, and to the bees, sure, it's got hexagonal shapes to it and all. We would think the bees would really like this and stay there, but sometimes they don't. So if you can ever use comb like this, especially you experienced beekeepers that have drawn comb on your frames, use your use combs when you catch a swarm to help keep that swarm from leaving. Now, for those of you that don't have drawn comb, and because you're a brand new beekeeper and you're thinking, hey, I don't have any, what do I do? That's tip number 2. Tip number 2 is to add wax to your foundation, to this new foundation. Most hives that you buy will come with a foundation with already some wax on it, like this one does. You can smell it if you get up close and all. It looks kind of neat. But if you add more to it, it increases the chance of the bees staying here and not leaving. How? Well, if they can pull out the wax or draw it out like this faster, well, then they can actually start laying eggs, a queen can. And once the queen starts laying, they're more committed to stay there. And so if you can get more comb drawn out faster by adding wax to it, that's a big benefit. Now, you may be saying, I don't have any wax, David. What do I do? Where do I get wax? You know, you can go to a beekeeper and say, hey, can I buy some wax off of you? Or you can go on Amazon. I'll leave a link below where you can buy wax and melt it down. And then take a paintbrush and just paint light coats on here. By the way, I've got a video that I made here on YouTube. Type in David Burns adding wax to frames, and that video will come up, and I'll explain in more detail how you can add wax. But that will help tremendously keep your bees on these frames in your hive, and maybe reduce the chance of them absconding. We can never absolutely say this will prevent it totally. We're trying to reduce it. Number 3, never paint the inside of your boxes. Some beekeepers don't understand that. They're new. They want everything to last forever, so they paint the inside and the outside of the hive. The bottom boards, you can paint all of those, but I would not paint the inside of the boxes. Never paint the frames. So many beekeepers that I have worked with over the years, they have told me they've painted all of their frames. They actually took a paintbrush and coated the frames inside the hive. I know a lot of you are like, oh, no, you can't do that. Well, some people do. Even though, you know, it kind of dries out, new paint's going to smell a while. So it might cause the bees to say, we don't like the paint smell, or that they just don't like paint on the inside of the boxes. They actually propolize the wood on the inside, adding propolis. So if you painted it, it might cause them to want to, you know, scratch the paint off or be irritated by that paint. So that will help if you don't paint the inside. That's tip number 3. Tip number 4, I want you to wait 3 to 4, maybe 5, even 7 days before you open your hive. We want to create sort of a dark environment for that new package or that swarm that you catch. We want them to know that this is a nice, cozy, dark place to have a colony. And if we keep ripping the top off and showing everybody we know that we just installed a package, hey, look, Grandma, come look at my bees. Here they are again. Oh, I want to see them. A day later, oh, yeah, I want to show my aunt. Here, look at my bees. Oh, I want to show my dad. Look at my bee. The top's coming on and off. The bees are like, wow, this is a terrible place to live. The top just comes on and off all the time. Now, you might be saying, no, wait a minute. We inspect bees. Yeah, we inspect established colonies. We're just wanting to help these bees get established by taking these steps so they don't run away before they get established, okay? That's what I'm saying. Another way to reduce the light, though, slide something on top of your screen bottom board. Maybe a piece of cardboard, a thin piece of plastic or something, and that way they can't see right out down the middle of the colony, especially if it's up a little bit off the ground. Might be too much light coming in there. You can take that off after, maybe a week. If you want a screen bottom board, you can remove that little covering, and that's fine. We're just trying to get these new packages, or a swarm you call it, established. Now, what about keeping noise reduced? Yeah, I think it's not a good idea to install a new package on day 1, and 4 hours later, you're out there weed eating and mowing around that new colony that you just installed. A lot of noise. I mean, it's okay to do that after they're established, but while this is a new swarm that you called or a new package you installed, keep the noise down. Let's let them feel like this is a cool place to live, so don't mow around them for a week or so. Okay, we have 2 more tips to go, and these are the best ones coming up. So if you're enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know that you like this in the comments below, that it's helpful to you. It means a lot to me. Please subscribe. I'm trying to get 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Didn't make it last year, but we're getting closer. So please, thank you so much for subscribing. So tip number 7 is keep your colonies spaced out. Doesn't really matter once they're established how close they are, but when you first buy new packages, it really does matter. So let's say you bought 4 new packages. You're starting with 4, 2 or 4, whatever, more than 1. And you put these hives right beside each other, 6 inches apart. Hive, 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 hive. And you shake all the packages in these 4 hives. Guess what? It's likely that 1 or 2 of these packages will all abscond out of one box and fly into another hive. So one box will be empty, and then one box will be twice as full. That's not uncommon at all with installing packages too close together. So let me give you some ideas about not only spacing them out, but how to reduce this absconding if you have the opportunity to install more than one package. I'd like for you to space your hives out at least in the beginning, or make them face different directions. Like this hive may face east, the next hive may be a little further apart, maybe 20 feet apart, and it faces west or north. Make them face different directions. Also, what you can do is you can put something on the front of your hive, like cut out a triangle out of black plastic paper or something like that, staple it right near the entrance where the bees going in and out will see a nice sized black triangle. On another hive, make a circle. Now, you might be saying, why can't I just paint them different colors? Bees aren't really crazy about different colors as a distinguishing trait, but they are crazy about shapes. So you're better off, bees see ultravioletly, but if you're better off to make something that has a shape on it. So if you put a big square on a hive, a big circle on another hive, a big triangle on another one, man, they can really identify home when they're brand new. Now, after a while, they know it. They know where they live. They don't need that. But we're talking about just helping them understand where their new colony is. Think about that if you're installing more than one package at a time, all at one time. Just make sure you distinguish each of the hives before you shake the bees in them, so those bees know where their home is. And then finally, tip number 8 is to feed your bees. I mean, who doesn't want to stay where the food is, right? I mean, if you're feeding them, and I recommend you feed them from the top more than from the entrance. If you feed them from the top, this is better in the spring, because in the spring you still have some cold weather. Bees won't go down all the time and out into that feeder on the entrance. But if you feed them from the top with a top feeder, you can have more advantage of the bees being clustered on a cold spring night and still being able to access food that's above that cluster. So by feeding those bees when you first install them, they're more likely to make more comb. Bees have to consume about 11 pounds of sugar water or honey to make 1 pound of wax to put on that new foundation. So the more you feed them, the more they're going to draw comb. If you're a new beekeeper, you should really get a hold of our new book that Sherry and I wrote. And I'll leave a link down below. You can buy this on Amazon, but if you buy it from our website, we'll actually autograph it for you as well. But this will help a lot of you with tips like this today on you may never thought that, oh my gosh, I didn't know absconding was a thing. Now I got to put all these things into practice. I'm going to give you a bonus tip. Bonus tip, tip number 9 is something that is awesome. Bees have to have the queen to abscond. The queen leaves with them most of the time. What you do is take a queen excluder and put it on your bottom board. And then you put your deep hive body on top of this and you shake your bees into the frames in the deep hive body. So the bees will go through the queen excluder to fly out of the bottom board and do their stuff. If we have excluded the queen into this deep box where she can't leave, maybe if they try to abscond, they realize mama's not with us and they'll go back home. So that's one thing you can do, is put this between the bottom board and the first deep body to hold the queen from leaving. Now it's important, listen carefully. Oh my gosh, don't make this mistake. After about 1 week, 7 to 10 days, you have to remove this. You cannot leave this on your bottom board. What will happen? Your drones are trapped. Drones can't go through this. Your drones will start dying, and you might think, I don't like drones anyway. They're the male bee. What do they do, right? Well, they will start clogging up all these holes, and your bees can't go in and out, and there can be pathogens from dying bees that can't be taken out of the hive. Use this. But after 7 to 10 days, because drones aren't going to die that quickly, be sure and remove it once that colony gets established on all of that new comb. Well, that's a bonus tip. Also, I want you to know that I have a giveaway item that I'm giving away. It's time sensitive, so it depends on when you're watching this. But if you're watching this video just as it's being released, or a few days afterward, I've got a giveaway. I'm going to leave a link right here to a video that explains this giveaway that's worth $350. Take a look at this video and get on this right now.